Welcome back to the ESPN Hoops Hits podcast presented by Tab. I am Scope, joined by my man, the Grub. And Grub, we love our American sports, and that's what this show is all about. But on the eve of State of Origin, I've got something for you that I would love to see in the game that we played that America do so well, and that's the build-up for occasions. That's the All-Star games, that's the draft that we just had recently. I would love the State of Origin teams to be named like they did with the All-Star teams a couple of years ago. Remember when LeBron, and I think it was either Giannis one year and then the next year it might have been Steph,
Giannis,
where they're All-Star captains. Maybe we could do that with coaches and announce the Origin teams and build it up and get media asking the questions. What do you think? I love just dissecting stuff from the US sports and bring it into what we do well.
Yeah, don't mind it. A couple of hard-hitting questions like, Laurie, why didn't you pick Jerome? Straight there and then. While Mitch is there.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
that's
Oh,
tough.
so you got the players there as well.
Get 'em there.
I don't hate that.
Get him there.
Or maybe the skipper. So the captain,
Yeah.
they alert the skipper before everyone else, and then they sit there and then they go, Bill, straight away with Daly Cherry Evans. Geez, Rob Toya, 10 games into his career, and he's going to be playing for Queensland up against Latrell Mitchell.
Paul Toya.
What's the thought process
Paul
there?
Toya.
That's like, who's that like? What's our comp for just a young gun going up against like a Giannis type for basketball? It's a comparison to the rookies, but it wasn't the best rookie class this year, was it?
No.
There's no one that really stands out because I was going to say Big Zach Edey, but he ain't the body shape of a guy like Robert Toya.
No. It's going to look. Rob Toy's a gun player.
He's a gun.
So it's going to be a big night.
And we've got some guns in the NBA as well because we are down to the Final Four. So we are going to discuss a couple of huge series. The Thunder, they take care of the Nuggets in Game 7. That was a very entertaining series, not so much a Game 7. The Knicks and the run of the Celtics stopped them from going back-to-back. We'll preview the conference finals. We'll talk about what the Golden State Warriors should do with the current roster and Steph Curry. And the NFL announced their scheduling. And we've got, I've seen the scheduling from the easiest to the hardest. We'll go through all that. And we'll also preview the conference finals in the Pick 6. So we'll make our picks for the Final Four. But let's get to Left on Red. And we'll kick it off with Twitter. And this comes from Supreme World. Watching Thunder versus Nuggets Game 7 be like, and he's asleep next to the remote. Yeah, it was a disappointing Game 7, Grub, but geez, it was an entertaining series. And the young Thunder against the Nikola Jokic-led Denver Nuggets, and he just, he could only do so much. And Jamal Murray was awesome in Game 6 as well, but this young ascending Oklahoma City Thunder team are going to go take on Ant and his team and his bunch of misfits at the Minnesota Timberwolves.
It was just a slugfest, dude. But unfortunately, the Nuggets sort of fell over at the end, didn't they? I just feel Aaron Gordon, he had a grade 2 Hemi, and I just want everyone to know. All right, a bit of comparison. Steph Curry had a grade 1, and he missed 4 games. Gordon had a grade 2 and played within 3 days. So that is tough. He would have been so ginger, he would have been so tight, and to put his team first and go on the field. He actually went pretty good for him on the boards too.
He's a power athlete. He
sparked them.
He's a power, his bread and butter is getting to the rim, dunking.
Yep.
Defense for that team. So yeah, huge effort from Aaron Gordon.
It was a big effort. So that was good to see, but. Yeah, I just think it sort of come to an end. Sort of SGA lit it up, 35 points. Like I said, Jokic, he tried so hard. But I just feel in that last game, they didn't concede, but I just felt that young side, they were just hustling, weren't they?
They were hungrier.
They were hungry. And that's the thing you clearly see. Even SGA constantly, just throughout the series, he just dealt with the double teams, really, really well. But that last game, I was just watching them, and I felt sorry for the Nuggets a bit because they got to that point. I think Murray was ill. They had Gordon. Westbrook was a bit 50-50, so
He had a tough series. He
had
had
a
a good
yeah.
playoff. He had a good playoff run for him, and sort of a bounce back season. But I think he had a points differential or a minus of like 90 something. Apparently, it's one of the worst in playoff history.
wow.
So he had a really rough series, and their defensive mindset at Oklahoma City did a great job on Russ because he was a factor in the Clippers series.
Yeah, he
a big
was.
factor. He had a huge part.
Do you think, this young Thunder side, I know we keep saying they're young, but do you think this experience of going 7 games toe-to-toe with a bit of a... Obviously, the referees are letting a lot more go. It's the basketball's different.
More physical.
Way
Yeah,
more physical.
always is in
Do
the
you think
playoffs.
this helps or hinders them for the next... Obviously, going to 7 games, you'd think it would hinder a side, but then you think they're young, they're probably fit, they go toe-to-toe with one of the... I would say more physical sides.
Yep.
Do they come out of it more confident than going, gee, we have to go 7 games?
Big time.
Yeah.
Because you had the championship Denver Nuggets team
Yeah.
from a couple of years ago as well. No one else that's left that is remaining. The Knicks, the Timberwolves, or the Pacers have championship credentials.
Good call.
So that's the part where if they were, my biggest concern was them, facing the Boston Celtics. Celtics are no longer there. They had their own injury concerns. They also had to come up against potentially the Golden State Warriors. If they were able to go past the Timberwolves, Steph gets injured. That's no longer there. I've got no concerns with the Oklahoma City Thunder now, and I think they're only going to get better. It's a huge task. I've been on the Timberwolves all year. I can't get off now. But in saying that, it's going to be a really good series.
What a matchup.
It's going to be a good matchup.
It's good.
It's like they're both got really good depth and they've got really good role players, and they are built around SGA and Edwards. And those two guys are going to step up. But championship teams are defined every year by their number 2, their number 3. Like if you go back to what Boston did last year, Jason Tatum is the star, but Jaylen Brown was
huge.
He's the MVP, right?
Yep.
And then you had other guys chip in, like Drew Holiday was awesome. And then the year that like Giannis and the Bucks won at Middleton was awesome. Jokic had Aaron Gordon and Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray chipping
right.
in. So
The 2 and the 3 man.
you need that 2 and 3 guy to have big series in the playoffs, and both teams have got really good depth. Julius Randle, he was excellent in the Warriors series, so that's going to be a really good matchup. Let's get to the East, and this one comes from Twitter, and it comes from New York Nick Spirit. The Knicks went 0-4 against the Boston Celtics this regular season. They have now won in 6 games versus them. It was a huge injury, the Tatum injury. And that's almost series defining for this. Even though the Knicks knocked them off in game 1,
Yep.
for sure you would have thought that they would have put up at least a bigger fight and get one game, 1 or 2 games. But the Celtics just weren't able to fire a shot without Jason Tatum.
Yeah. I don't know. I just feel in game 1 and game 2, the Knicks come back from, I think, 20-point deficits. And I just think that itself...
That broke them.
I just think it gives them the belief they needed. That they think, well, you know what? This is the Boston Celtics, but we're coming back from 20 down against the champs.
Yeah, in Boston.
Like, that's huge.
Yep.
It's sort of unheard of. But obviously the Tatum injury was huge, and it's huge for everyone, but it also deflates the Celtics. You speak about when you're sitting next to who's the best guy you've sat next to in a dressing room, and just said he's here, he's playing today.
Yeah, you're right.
Those type of guys.
Yep.
Jason Tatum's that guy.
Yeah, he's that guy for Boston.
Yeah. So I just remember looking across, and when I was playing with James Graham, I knew up front we were going to win the battle a lot of the time.
Yep.
You just knew it. So I think Jason Tatum was that. I think Porzingis needed to probably step up more, didn't. He hasn't been great for a while, though, has he?
Been a bit banged up.
What's he fighting? I read an article saying he's been, off since February. Something to do with his body, fully run down.
Well, he's always been injury prone. Always been injury prone. You probably wanted to see more from Derek White, from Jaylen Brown, and a few others. But, yeah, you got to give credit to the Knicks. And I remember at the back end of the season, they were talking about the minutes and the loading. And, there was out of 4 of the most played combinations in the NBA, out of the 5 most played combinations of 3 players on the basketball court at the same time, 4 of the combinations were Knicks.
Wow.
And it was between Bridges, Hart, Josh Hart, Anunoby, and Brunson. Like, they're just always out on the court, and you thought that they were going to run out of steam.
Yep.
Mitch Robinson has chipped in as well and played a really important role. And now that they've got rid of the Celtics and the Cavs got knocked out on the other side, they currently go from the 3rd best team to the best team in the East and the best chance to get to a playoff series and take on the winners in the West. So
just Brunson, like, honestly. Brunson's been electric so far in this series. I do think to take it out, he's probably got to go to another level. I really do. But I've loved a few comments that he sort of said to the media. He said even though they did win, he said the communication, their effort areas at times and their urgency wasn't where it needs to be. So they're looking to improve. And one thing I also liked was apparently the New York Knicks fans were standing on cars, hanging off light poles in New York. Reminds me of very Belmore-like, Bulldog-esque.
carrying on an absolute treat,
Love
just
it.
like your fans at Belmore, aren't they? Yeah.
Be careful.
In a positive way.
Lucky you said that.
But in saying that, we're going to see one of the all-time great rivalries from the 90s. You know, it was overshadowed by how good the Bulls were. But you think about the Knicks versus the Pacers. Patrick Ewing, Reggie Miller, Spike Lee on the side. We're about to go into, who would have thought 3 or 4 years ago, Tyrese Halliburton led Indiana Pacers when he was playing for the Sacramento Kings against the New York Knicks led Jalen Brunson. The New York Knicks led by Jalen Brunson, who was on the roster and a backup to Luka Doncic as the point guard. Those 2 guys have just gone skyrocketed over the last couple of years. They have become the leaders of their team. And this is going to be, like, we're looking, you look at the SGA versus Ant Edwards and then the depth of the squads for both teams. We're into a new generation. And producer Shabs wrote this. The NBA Conference Finals will not include LeBron, KD, Steph, Kawhi, the Joker, Giannis, Luka, Klay Thompson, James Harden, Dame Lillard, Joel Embiid, Anthony Davis, Kyrie Irving, Paul George, Jimmy Butler.
Wow.
Adding Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, who were champions last year. We are in the midst of a new era of the NBA, and the headline stars for all 4 teams are Tyrese Halliburton, the most overrated player in the NBA, just recently in a poll. LeBron come out and stuck up for him. I love that from LeBron. I'm always a big LeBron fan.
Well, let's get that. He gave
Tyrese Halliburton, Jalen Brownson, SGA, and Ant Edwards.
Changing of the guard.
Does that blow you away, that top 4, though?
It's weird that I don't see one of them in there. Like, one. You know what I mean? Like you just said a few. So, but look, we're just so lucky of this era, aren't we?
Yeah.
What we've seen.
Yeah, we've had a good era.
What do you think? Do you think this new era is going to take over? Like, better than this? Are we going to see some better players come through, or the stock right now? Who we got? Wemby, Ant-Man, Doncic. Are they going to give us the same sort of highlight reels?
I think Ant has the star ability to superstar ability and the charisma with the play. SGA is a funny one. Like, he's going to get MVP. You could argue he's the best player in the game, and that's a fair argument for what he's done this year. There's just I think it might be just the franchises. Like, apart from the New York Knicks, Minnesota, Oklahoma City Thunder, Indiana, like they're just not.
Feels weird to be talking
about. They're not big market teams, and maybe that's what the hesitancy is. But we'll see. They've got to be able to take the leap. They've got to, take their game to the next level, and we'll see if they're able to do that, because we are definitely at the end of our era of a few big names. So let's get to that one of those big names. And this is off the back of the Timberwolves eliminating the Golden State Warriors, and this one comes from Facebook. Glenn Brandon, blow it up, youth around Steph until he hangs him up. Should Golden State blow it up and start again?
Well, I wouldn't say fully blow it up. Keep Jimmy Buckets.
Yep.
Like, how long's he got left, you reckon? You're a Jimmy Buckets fan? Honestly. Good Jimmy Buckets. not fading out Jimmy Butler's 2 years where he goes, I'm hanging on.
Well, history says Jimmy's got 2 or 3 really good solid years at each franchise he goes to before he starts to get bored, starts to get agitated, starts to have a falling out, wants a new contract, all of the above. But he is 34, 35. I think that, him, LeBron, Steph, Draymond, and Jimmy they'd all be north of 35. So I think they've got one more good year left in them.
Right now?
One more good year, yeah.
With this squad.
With your good role players around him. The big swing player, and for whatever reason, and I think he's got to be a trade piece, is Kuminga.
Yep.
Because Kuminga is a talented player that wasn't playing when Steph was out there. That Steve Kerr can't get him into the rotation when Steph's out there for whatever reason, and they've got to figure out that's their trade piece. Pod's a good complementary piece, a good depth piece. Post was a good rookie for him that showed signs at the back end. They've got a good team, but they're probably going to need to add another piece in the offseason and try to figure out what the Kuminga situation is to give it one more run.
They need another scorer. Like, it's so hard not to compare, but, they haven't really given Steph a Robin, we call him, since Clay, have they? Really?
Buddy Hield's sorta, but not. Yeah, but he's not to Clay's level, and you're never going to get.
It's hard to.
You're never going to get another Clay.
Yeah,
prime Steph and Clay.
You never will, but I know. Well, from all reports that they're willing to give up nearly whatever it takes to get him that piece.
One more,
because they still think Steph still got it, which I do as well.
Absolutely,
sure. Still does.
If he's healthy,
but he definitely needs a piece.
Yep,
and. There's questions about Draymond. Like, does Draymond and the Golden State Warriors just need to, like, I get it. He's their warrior, and I feel there would be fans that would love him, but I also feel there'd be fans that are getting over it. For sure. Just make Draymond. We are over it, man.
Yeah.
Like, we're over your fouls. We're over your, you probably cost us that, a few of these games. We still love you for what you've done, but maybe it's time to just part ways and find a Draymond 2.0.
They did it with. It's going to be very hard to replicate. I reckon it's going to be harder to replicate Draymond than it is Clay.
Yeah,
because Clay was an awesome player, a good 3-and-D perimeter defender before the injuries. But Draymond does so much, and it's that as much as it frustrates you to watch. He is the locker room leader. He's the communicator. He gets everyone in position. Even though he frustrates me at times to watch him, I still appreciate and understand his importance to that team. And Steph and Steve Kerr over the years have been super frustrated by Draymond, and they've never ever really considered trading him too. So that says a lot about.
There's got to be something there that he's like the key, maybe the glue.
The glue. Yeah. He has to be. He has to be like in terms of the way that they view him. One more year, trade Kuminga, maybe a pick. And try to figure out one more player that can help you out and go for one more run, because I thought they looked really good when Jimmy, Draymond, and Steph were all together in rhythm.
Yep.
All right, let's get to the stalemate for this week. So we posted this up. Who had the NFL's best release post? We got a couple of messages from Twitter. The first one's from Charles Thorpe. The Chargers won. And the second one was from Just Fresh Show. NFL schedule rollouts have been a content masterclass. They've got so good at them over the years. Grub, do you have a favorite out of the 32 teams, and you cannot say the Eagles?
All right, I'm going to say something different. No, I actually love the Denver Broncos one.
Yeah,
it was sort of like I would call it a mini rodeo. So they had really young kids. I think they're probably like 4 or 5 years old, and they were jumping on the back of sheep.
Yeah,
sheep, and it was just hilarious because it was actually real. Actually, might have been AI. I'm not too sure, but it definitely looked real. And these kids were like jumping on the back with the helmets of other teams.
I love that.
And then the mascot, I don't know his name,
wrangling him in.
Jumping on top of him,
jumping on top,
and just holding on for all money. It was actually
how
really
good's that? I actually didn't see that one.
And then the Bronco finally wins it in the end for the kids, I think. So it was cool. Just something different. Haven't seen it before.
You mentioned AI. I like what the Buffalo Bills did. The interview with AI. Josh Allen, he's working on his post game. It looks like he's throwing it around his head. We talked about the world is just consumed by AI at the moment. But rather than getting AI to do it digitally, digitally got it out. They went with Allen Iverson, which was creative. Brendan Bean. He's one of my favorite GMs too. He's sort of like he's creative. I love I remember I talked about how he called up the radio station and just hammered a couple of like he's not afraid to put his face
it's good.
in front and let people know that he's the dude there. So that was my favorite.
Can I just say, total side note? I think the Bulldogs of the NRL, our social media team, are really a step ahead at the moment.
Oh, mate, what the Bulldogs have been doing has been unreal, and it helps when you're winning.
It actually does.
It helps heaps.
Absolutely. I just feel a few things that they do with like Gus.
Yeah.
And Gus is actually up for a joke a lot of the time.
Because he understands how important it is.
They put his head on like other characters and stuff. I just think it's funny. It adds a whole new dimension to it. Same
as Bean.
Yeah.
The same way I view Gus. You've got to be able to adapt to the times.
Yep.
And if you are not on top of your social media content, then you not risk, but you're missing out on opportunities to bring new people, new memberships, new fans. The younger generation, they're all over social media, so you've got to be on it.
I'm actually not laughing. Sorry, but I wasn't laughing at you then. I was actually laughing at one of the things they done. You know how players ring their mum and dads?
Yeah.
They done one with the staff.
I've seen that.
So like
that was top shelf.
I'm like that. Like one of the boys that I work with, he's like, Dad, heaps of injuries. I've been called into the squad. He's like,
you're gonna get smashed.
Are you serious?
You're gonna get smashed.
I thought that was funny.
That was good. Yeah. Even a couple of chicks from the office did the same. There's like 4 or 5 of them. I seen that.
Yeah, it's good.
That was top shelf content. All right, let's get to the pick 6 presented by Tab for this week. We have 4 teams remaining. We've got the series winner. We got the odds. New York versus Indiana in the East. The series winner, New York, $1.65. And if you think Indiana can get the job, it's $2.30. New York, Indiana. Where are we going?
I'm going the mighty, mighty New York Bulldogs. That's what I'm calling them now. Yeah. And the fans are going to bring the garden down.
Yeah, they are. I love that.
What about you, mate?
Similar sort of feel too. Madison Square Garden to Belmore. It's like the vibe is so much.
Lunatics everywhere. Love it.
Reluctantly, I'm on the Knicks. I would like to see Indiana win it, but the New York Knicks have a better team, and I want to see the best possible final series. And I think New York coming in. I don't mind who wins it out of the West because I think both teams would be entertaining. And I would love to see after the trade they had between the Knicks and the Minnesota Timberwolves, where I said at the start of the year, I said, I think both teams win. I think both teams did a good job of improving their teams with the Anthony Towns for Julius Randle and DiVincenzo.
You did say that early.
That would be cool to see those two play each other in the final. So I'll stay with the Knicks, but the Oklahoma City are $1.26 to beat the Minnesota Timberwolves at $4. Which way are you going on that side?
Yeah, like I said, I think OKC take a lot of confidence out of that last series. They just go, like, it's actually a really good point. He said there's no champs there now. They took out the champs of a few years ago. So I think they're going to take a lot of confidence into a Minnesota team who just do not care.
Yeah.
They are playing not care basketball, no frills.
Carefree.
Aren't they?
Yeah.
Like it's just, and that's so good to watch. That's why this series is just going to absolutely, I don't know how they're going to win. It's going to be an interesting series though.
It's going to be so fun to watch. I'm really, both will be fun. Even though they're not big market teams outside of New York, there's a lot of feeling, and there will be a lot of drama in these series. I'm going to stick with Minnesota. I've been on Minnesota as my value team all year.
Yep.
Even though reluctantly I'm on them because I think Oklahoma City are the better team and will probably win it. Got to keep riding. I think I talked up Minnesota at the start of the year at like 25s, 26s they were. So let's keep riding with them. And remember, for free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelponline.org.au.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.
Mate, that is it for this week. You might be away next week, so we'll have a chat and we'll get Benjamin, and we'll be chatting all things top 4. And by the time we get you back, we could be at the final 2.
The final two.
OKC
will be taking on the mighty.
Is that a grub lock?
I'm going to give you a grub lock before I go.
All right, mate. We'll see you in a couple of
See you,
weeks.
bro.
I'll be back with Benyam next week.